So you've been living your whole adult life on the straight and narrow, right? You got decent grades in high school, finished up your college degree, and now you're even building a career. But you don't own a home yet, and you can't even fathom the idea of ever being able to afford one. Well, both the good and the bad news is that you're not alone. 90% of millennials want to own a home, according to a recent study by Apartment List, but only 43% actually do. Well, I wanted to know why. If 90% of millennials actually want to own a home, why are only 43% successful? So I decided to get some answers. I picked up some Jersey Mike's for lunch, sat down with Freddie Mac's Millennials and Housing Guide, and I can't wait to show you what I found. Well, hello, this is Wendy Pinnell, and millennials are facing some serious obstacles in today's housing market. In fact, according to this study, there are at least 5 killer roadblocks, and we're going to talk about those today. Starting out with roadblock number 1, home prices and affordability. Wait, no one's surprised by that? Well, this might surprise you then. Did you know more qualified millennials are earning higher incomes than the generation before them? Yeah, millennials actually have a higher income than all other previous generations, and yet one of the biggest problems they're facing is affordability. Freddie Mac describes how the cost barrier to enter the housing market is higher for millennials today than it was for prior generations. They don't leave us in the dark as to why that is either. Freddie Mac explains that home prices have grown 4 times faster than household income. Now, I've mentioned before that in Dallas, the home affordability ratio has decreased from 2.42 in 2012 to 4.13 today, and that's exactly what Freddie Mac is confirming as well. Even, with income increasing, there's still too much of a gap between income and home prices. Now, going right along with that, we have roadblock number 2, low inventory. 63% of millennials report that the most challenging aspect of buying a home is simply finding one. Many millennials are only able to afford older homes. Now, the problem that comes with that is buying an older home comes with the added cost of renovation. So Freddie Mac is trying to help out here. They created their Choice Renovation Mortgage to assist with this. They explain that this program allows borrowers to finance their home purchase and renovation costs in a single closing transaction. So that's nice, that's helpful. Unfortunately, the shortage of housing inventory also leads to high costs in urban areas, forcing millennials to buy further out in the suburbs. But, of course, that ends up driving up commuting costs. Sam Cater, Vice President and Chief Economist at Freddie Mac, sums it up in a nutshell. He says, the supply of unsold homes is at the lowest level in 4 decades. All right, moving on to roadblock number 3. This one might surprise you. Millennials are struggling with misinformation about the housing market. Daniel DeVise recently wrote an article for The Hill entitled Survey Finds Americans Wildly Misinformed on Housing Market. He describes how 28 million Americans plan to purchase a home in 2023. On average, they hope to spend $269,000. Now, the problem with that? According to Federal Reserve statistics, home prices crossed the $269,000 threshold sometime in 2013. The current median sales price, according to Redfin, was $388,100 in December. So why might buyers be so wildly optimistic about home prices? Well, because 2/3 of Americans surveyed said they expect an imminent crash. But that's not what real estate economists are seeing. On the one hand, right, you have like economists like Redfin, okay, predicting a 4% drop in 2023, okay? But then you have like this huge amount of home buyers expecting a 31% crash in order to purchase a home for $269,000. Now, that isn't the only misinformation we're seeing though. Devise comments that, get this, 61% of Americans told pollsters that current mortgage rates are unprecedented, meaning that they've never been seen before. Now, the sad reality, honestly, is that homebuyers have basked in a beautiful climate of historically low rates for more than a decade. While the truth of the matter is that over 30 of the past 50 years have had interest rates higher than 6%. Okay, so there's just a lot of misinformation out there, and it's become a real roadblock. Okay, moving on to number 4. But before we do that, are you getting value from this video? If so, would you mind hitting that like button? Thank you for doing that. Okay, but back to reason number 4. A major roadblock in achieving home ownership for millennials is a lack of financial literacy. Freddie Mac describes that despite having more college and graduate degrees than any of the older generations, only 16% of millennials are considered financially literate. Okay, now that's according to a 2018 study by the TIAA Institute. They comment that recent research has shown that many adults have a poor understanding of basic personal finance concepts. Now keep in mind, okay, this study, it was based on evaluating graduate students. Now another compelling statistic completed by Freddie Mac directly showed that only 19% of millennials that assess their own financial knowledge as high or very high actually qualified as financially literate. So why is this? Well, Freddie Mac explains it this way. They said the learning curve tied to successfully purchasing an affordable home is steep and typically not included in high school and college curricula. Wow. And finally, roadblock number 5, and one of the most significant obstacles for millennials is an inadequate understanding of the home buying process. A recent survey from Freddie Mac concluded that most millennials ages 24 through 29 are not confident in their knowledge of the home buying process. They identified saving for a down payment as one of the biggest challenges to buying a home, but nearly 42% of millennials were under the assumption that they're required to put a 20% down payment on a home. All right, so many were unaware of government loan programs like FHA that requires like a 3.5% down payment, or USDA and VA loans that don't require a down payment at all. The Freddie Mac study listed numerous ways to overcome the down payment hurdle. Okay, they describe how there are other ways to raise down payment cash aside from savings, including nonprofits or agency assistance and gifts. They explain that when it comes to housing assistance, there are over 2,500 nationwide programs that provide grants and loans to make home ownership more attainable. They have an entire webpage on down payment assistance programs and all the different places and sources you can look. So, affordability and a lack of inventory are massive issues for millennials. But there's also just a ton of misinformation and missing information out there. Now, if you find yourself in that position, in the description section, we've listed several links and buyer's guide explaining the home buying process. Now, if you want to be on the lookout instead for like the 3 biggest home buying lies in the Dallas market today, then this video is where you want to head next. In the meantime, Wendy out.